Welcome to the True Elegance Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bumia Kikube, also known as Dr. B. Through solo episodes and guest sessions, we delve into the timeless qualities of style, grace, and sophistication, and uncover what makes you truly elegant. So, sit back, relax, and let's get started on this empowering journey of becoming truly elegant. Hello, Elegant Tribe, and welcome to another episode of the True Elegance Podcast, where we talk about the inner values that enable us to radiate beauty from the inside out. I'm excited about my guest in the podcast room today. I choose to refer to her as the queen of MTO, which stands for Me Time Off. You know, when life happened, she decided whether she wanted to continue in self-pity or get busy living. She's also the curator of the Mind Escape Vibe, and her journey is rooted in gratitude, resilience, faith, and forgiveness. Join me in welcoming Renii Modisette.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I still get chills as I hear that read, because it still resonates with me so much. I get chills every time.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, we would like to kick it off today by hearing about your journey. Like I mentioned in the intro, you definitely had some critical turning points in life where you had to make some tough decisions. Can we kick it off by hearing that story?
Yes, sure. So I was a single mom, and all my energy went to maintaining my family and ensuring that, my children were well cared for and I could provide for them. And in doing so, that meant education. I went back to school. It was so many different things that I needed to do to walk in the path of being a provider for 3 children. And as you can imagine, I had to put my needs to the wayside because I had these 3 little mouths to feed.
Wow.
And I was able to, go through the ranks, go to school. A lot of school, 9 years of school. I had my doctorate, and I started work. I was working in corporate America, and I was driven and going hard every day. And I really put my needs to the wayside. And I can honestly say that even with my kids, my children, I wasn't always present because my mind was transactional. It was really focusing on what I needed to do to put A plus B together to equal C, to get to C. And with that comes its own set of challenges, right?
Right.
The snarky snacking, the eating, different things like that, and even my own mental dialogue. And I was, I want to say it was 2014 when I was diagnosed with diabetes. And shortly after that, I kid you not, probably within 2-3 months, my blood pressure was off the charts too. And I had these beings. I had these beings that I have to take care of, right?
Like precious human beings.
I'm not feeling well, and I'm sick, and I have to figure out what I need to do. And it was a true turning point for me because I had to figure out what I wanted. And I did. I wallowed in self-pity for a while because I was like, how could I let this happen? What did I do? And at the same time, while I'm wallowing in my own self-pity, I got these 3 little beings looking at me like, I know something's not right, but she's not saying anything, and I had to make a decision. And it was July 9th, 2016. I was at church, and my friend's now husband, he was getting baptized.
Wow.
And I heard a voice. The Lord said, hey, get busy living. Get yourself together.
Wow.
And after that, I was just on a mission to do that, to get better, to be healthier, to speak positivity in my life, and to think positive, and to just move forward in a positive light. But I didn't start that right away. I don't even want to lie to you and say, I walked right out of there and I just started doing it. I did not. A couple more years went by. And one day I was at a revival and it was a lot of people there. We were having a good time. We were laughing and talking, and I'm nauseous. I'm nauseous. I'm sick. I don't know what's going on. And a good friend of mine, she's sitting right next to me. And I didn't even want to burden her and say, I'm just not feeling well. So I make it through the service. Me and my youngest child, we get home and I take I do a finger stick to check my blood sugar. It was 450.
Wow.
And I was like, I can't live like this anymore. And it completely changed how I saw what I needed to do. That's when really I started walking more and really taking more time to figure out what my body needed and to be able to do for myself so I could show up whole for others. And that just became a part of who I am.
Wow.
And at that time, I didn't think that, oh, wow, I should be sharing this with others. I was just trying to get myself together. Then that nudge came because something happened with my daughter. She had a substance abuse issue, and I had to take my grandson in. And I was mad and angry all the time. I was just mad. I'm like, she wasn't brought up this way. What is going on? I did right. I don't have diabetes anymore. I did everything I was supposed to do. My blood pressure is under control. Why is this happening? And I was just angry. And my grandbaby stood in the kitchen and looked up at me and said, Grandma, why don't you love me?
Wow.
I mean, why don't you love my mom like you love me? Now, I don't know if you're a parent,
Yes,
but
I am.
when you get a question like that, you have to collect yourself first before you turn around and respond.
Right.
And I had to collect myself. And that was a nudge that was so great. I had to do something. So I started learning more about emotional intelligence and learning more about what I could do to be more self-aware. I started meditating. I started doing more of those things to help clear everything that was going on. And then I started to write.
Okay.
I started to blog. And from there, it was my Mind Escape Vibe blog, and I wanted to expand. And I was like, how can I help others? I know I can do this. And I would say to my grandson, this is for you, Kay. This is for you. And Mind Escape Vibe was birthed from that, because even trying to distinguish the direction I wanted to go, I still encountered, times of imposter syndrome where I had to remind myself that I could. And Mind Escape Vibe is that conduit to create that that safe space for me time off. Me time off is 15 minutes a day. It's not all day thing, 15 minutes to put yourself first.
Okay, I'm going to pause you right there because this is just so good. I just want to go on and on, but what an inspiring story. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that journey with us. And like you said, it's not something that happened in 1 month or 1 year. And the transformation didn't happen right away. You had days when you were up and other days when you were down, but you stuck with it and you fought through. I read in your bio that there were some nights you cried through some of those circumstances, but you made it through, and now you're sharing your journey and using that to inspire and encourage other people. The kids piece, your grandson asking that sincere, genuine question, which, kids are so free and pure at heart. And sometimes we learn from them, because when we are going around doing all our crazy stuff, they say it in simple ways and they're like, what's up with this woman? Like, what did I do? And why are you taking it out on me?
Clearly, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Clearly. And Caleb was so innocent with it. Grandma, why don't you love my mom like you love me?
Yeah.
What do you say? You don't turn around and say, I'm mad at her. You say, let me check myself before I turn around and hug this little person.
Mm.
You
Wow.
know.
I can just imagine that heart melting moment right there because, the natural response could be like, hey, get out of here. What are you talking about? But, it's striking a chord in your heart and making you pause and think like, ooh, I need to do something about this. And
Oh, yes.
yeah, glad about that journey. And, like you said, handling the ups and downs, I want you to talk a little bit more about that. Like, what kept you consistent to keep moving forward?
Diabetes can take over your body. It takes over your body, and it has different effects for different people. But for me, I had a hard time just really staying focused. I was nauseous all the time. I felt like it was controlling my life. And my motivation was to be able to control my own body and to be able to do that myself and not this chronic condition to control my body. And that really motivated me to keep going. It motivates me even today to keep going. It's not something that I did then and I don't do anymore. I still exercise today. I get up and walk every morning. I meditate every morning because it was a time that I didn't think I would make it to my 50th birthday.
Wow.
And with that mindset, I am going to make it.
Yeah.
What do I need to do?
Right.
And it was at that point where I opened my eyes and opened my ears and I closed my mouth and I listened.
Wow. Open your eyes, open your mind.
And I opened my eyes, and I opened my ears and I closed my mouth because it meant I needed to be still. All of the nudges had been coming to me, but I chose to ignore them because I wanted to do what I wanted. And doing what I wanted was wreaking havoc on my body, wreaking havoc on my mind. And it would show up in passive aggressive behaviors. So I had to learn how to be aware of what was happening with me so that I could redirect that language. And that's where the positive psychology and a lot of those things came into play, because first I had to learn how to function with me before I could pass this on to someone else. And at the same time, I needed my children to see that because they're mirrors. I needed them to see it so that they could see that I was trying and this was a way that I wanted to go. So they can say, maybe I want to try that too.
Yeah, if mom did that. Yes. Wow, that's beautiful. So inspiring. Wow, opening your eyes, opening your ears, and closing your mouth. And I know, when we talk about closing the mouth, it could be in so many different ways, but also, it could be two-dimensional. So closing your mouth, watching what you say, but at the same time, at some point, still opening your mind to be able to stay on the positive and keep going in the right direction.
Do you know, it took me a while to figure out how to speak positivity into my life. I had never celebrated myself.
Wow.
I didn't think that being vulnerable was okay. I thought that was weakness. And as I learned, I was like, wow, those vulnerable people, those folks that are vulnerable, those are really the strongest. Those are the ones. That's the person I want to be.
Right. Right. Because once you're vulnerable, and it's almost like taking yourself to the lowest point, and you're like, well, how low can I go? The only way from here is up. So one step at a time and keeping it moving forward. Wow.
Yes.
I love that. So this transition to the Mindscape blog, Mind Escape blog, and the Me Time Off. Can you talk a little bit more about that now?
Yes. So Mind Escape Vibe was Actually, I wanted to blog and I was like, what am I going to call it? At that time, I didn't even trust my own intuition. I'd ask a million people and go, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. And it turned out that I saw it actually, and I was like, Mind Escape, I like that. I think I can do that. And I chose that name for my blog because it was my time to escape and write. And it's funny, my first blog post, I took it all the way back to 4th grade. And I wrote about all of the things that I experienced in childhood and in young adulthood, in my early 20s when I had my kids young, and it was hard then. And it was so freeing. And it was received so well. It resonated with a lot of people. I mean, my blog in its first year had over 300,000 reads.
Wow.
And because it resonated with a lot of people.
Right.
And
talk about vulnerability that we just talked about.
Yes. I mean, I didn't hold back. I let it all out. I talked about an experience when, I was in the 4th grade and I wanted to have friends, and I would let the kids just beat up on me just so they could be my friend. And I did that primarily because I wanted Caleb to know those are not the type of friends you want to have.
Okay.
And it's funny because, kids don't see, when they see an adult, they don't think you were once their age.
Right. They're
To
like,
hear
you
him
don't
say,
understand.
back then, And so I just wrote, and I felt so free. And my daughter-in-law said to me, you should coach.
Wow.
You should look into that. And I'm like, nah, I don't know. I don't know. And I took a course to get ICF certified.
Okay.
And then they talked about meditation. I'm like, well, I've done some of that. I understand that. But then he started talking about different things. And I'm like, I've never heard that. So I went back to learn more about mindfulness and meditation and positive psychology and clinical aromatherapy. And here I am.
Wow.
So Mind Escape Vibe is about growth in a safe space. And it talks about me time off as stress management, because we need to take a step back to change our perception sometimes, because our perception may be that life is just so hard and the world is beating us down. But let's take a step back and take some breaths.
Right.
Clear your heart and your mind.
Right.
And think about how you can move past feeling beat up. And to do that, it's hard. It's not easy. I wish I could say that it happens overnight, but it doesn't. And that's where the aromatherapy comes in. It's another coping strategy. I have signature blends, temperance, humanity. I have transcendence, wisdom. So I named those signature blends to guide you to where you're going.
Right.
And the essential oils that are in there guide you to help you to get to that point. Because it's about your strategy and what works for you.
Yes. Wow, that is so beautiful. I can just imagine, wisdom, things like peace, grace that we have to offer ourselves. So if you don't have those blends yet,
we have temperance. Yes, but you know what? I'm glad that you mentioned that, because all that tells me is that God is blessing me with more blends to create to help someone, because it's really about helping one person at a time. The way we show up is really important, whether we're at home or at work. We have to feel good about ourselves. Even when the world has beat us up, even from the car ride, from the light.
I know, cutting you off.
So I try to find different ways to relate to people, and I like the aromatherapy blends as a compliment.
That's beautiful. Just picking back to Mind Escape, in one sense you might think, okay, it's not so much about escaping and not dealing with the realities of life. It's about opening up your mind, right?
It truly is about opening up your mind and being willing to put yourself first without guilt or shame.
Wow.
And mothers, we have a hard time doing that.
You can say that again. Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
a hard time, even for 15 minutes, because we are nurturers. That's what we are.
Yes. Yes.
And I want to provide that safe space for that 15 minutes for that mom.
Beautiful.
For that dad, even, because dads, oh my goodness, they ride with the same stress as moms have sometimes even more. So,
Right.
it's that
Right.
place of just 15 minutes,
That's
15 minutes a
beautiful.
day.
So you're saying 15 minutes a day of just
Whatever
your
it is they
time.
need to do. So I call it
Okay.
a mind escape vibe experience.
Okay.
Okay. So it could start with maybe taking 30 seconds. If you are not a meditator, that's okay. Sit for a couple minutes, sit for 30 seconds and just sit. Maybe focus on that one thing. Because guess what? Focusing on that one thing and sitting still and focusing on that one thing is meditating.
Yeah.
And then you may want to, escape a little more. And that's why I have a mist.
Okay.
And with the mist, like Transcendence is one of the blends. And you spray your mist, the instructions, 3 deep breaths, and you have your time to sit and think. And then I have a journal, a goal setting journal. Maybe you want to set goals on what you want to do in those 15 minutes. Now, here's the thing though. Some people set goals and they're hardcore on these goals. They're like, I'm going to do it this way and I can't deviate. That is not the point.
Okay.
Be flexible and have grace.
Yes. Grace, grace, grace.
Grace.
Wow, that's
Yes.
beautiful. That's beautiful. And I can imagine it just gets better because like you said, for some of us it might be challenging to sit down for 15 minutes and just let it all be. But there's always a starting point. Start with 30 seconds to 1 minute to 2 minutes.
That's how
And
I started.
it's amazing what 15 minutes can do.
I started with, my goal was 5 minutes.
Okay.
It was hard to sit 2.5. I was like, I can't do this. All I kept thinking about was all the things I had to
Yeah, I know. It's just like when you want to pray sometimes, you're praying and you're thinking of the chicken in the oven and
do.
the kid you need to pick up but if you stay at it, after a while, things will
Mhm.
calm down.
It does. It calms down. And it's so inspiring for me because my youngest still lives at home. My
Okay.
youngest does me time off. Go outside and sit
Wow.
15, 20 minutes.
Wow.
And I get so excited. I come in my office and close the door and I'm excited like but you lead
Wow.
by example. And I was so glad to see her doing that.
Yes, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful, especially in the world of technology now, we're always on the go with something going
Mhm.
on. So being able to take some time off. And, one thing that came to mind was timeouts, but this time it's not timeout.
No, no,
It's
just a
not a
little time off.
punishment. It's a positive
No. Mhm.
impact to give us time to regain that beautiful vibes that we all need.
Yeah, to be present in the moment and to
Yeah.
savor. It's amazing to me how when I take that 15 minutes, especially when my grandson's visiting,
Mm-hmm.
and I take that time to just be, and then I come out, it's like I see him in a whole different light and everything he's saying. He may have
Wow.
said it 16 times, but hearing it again is the most amazing thing that could come out his little lips.
Wow.
It's amazing. Because it changes. I want to savor every moment
Right,
because I've
right.
taken an opportunity to pour into my own cup.
Wow. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. This has been amazing. I just want to give you some little time, if there's anything else you want to pour out to the group about all this before we wrap it up.
Well, just check us out, Mind Escape Vibe. That's what
Okay.
we're here for. We're here to speak positivity and root for you. And if you need a little time to think about it, that's okay too. Just know that while you're thinking, there is someone rooting for you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. So is it Mind Escape Vibe on like the website and
Yes,
social
it's
media?
www.mindescapevibe.com.
Okay.
And it's Mind Escape Vibe on all social platforms, including TikTok and LinkedIn. So check us out.
Beautiful. We'll be sure to include that in the show notes. Well, thank you, Renii, for being amazing and sharing, pouring out your heart to us this evening. We'll be sure to stay in touch, and
Yes,
thank you for
please.
your time.
Please. Thank you so much for having me. It was really a blessing to just be able to share.
Beautiful. Be sure to subscribe so you'll be the first to be notified of every new episode. Leave a review and share this podcast with that elegant lady in your life. This is a space where we can come together to empower and inspire each other and live feeling elevated and enlightened. See you in the next episode.